Greetings
Yeah.
to everyone. This is the Counter Racist Evolving Engineer program for Saturday, May 18th, 2019. And I just checked, and my co host and colleague is with me, Brother Kofi from the Crab Venue. And he did a really delightful and informative segment that I encourage you to check out yesterday. It was about a number of things, but he led off with this new sci-fi movie that was on Netflix called Talk to You Yesterday. I believe that's or was it See You Yesterday? And it's a speculative fiction based in, sort of in that basic speculative fiction kind of amorphous sci-fi genre, but it had basically an all-black cast with the exception of a Puerto Rican male who was in pursuit of a young black female. They were teenagers, and because it was a time travel flick, it was interesting to have a cameo by Michael J. Fox from Back to the Future. Produced by Spike Lee, and I thought it was just outstanding in so many ways. And I thought that, Kofi did a much better job than I'm going to be capable of doing, especially today. You might hear a little nasally thing. People say all the time, well, there are so many people who are convinced that there are these quick and easy fixes that work universally for everybody, in terms of boosting your immune system and making it so that you're less allergic to things. I'm not opposed to any advice. I know what I've tried. I know what hasn't worked. I believe that there's some things that work consistently for some people. I have not been convinced that there's any consistent regimen, but be that Dr. Sebi or anybody else that consistently works for everyone. And if I appreciate your good wishes, and we'll struggle through this and hope my voice holds up and that I can breathe enough to be able to get through this. But I hope that the thumbnail was intriguing enough. I thought this is probably the only time that the red table that we could probably take you could do a turn of phrase on the red table, because of course the table itself is red. It always has been since the beginning of the program, the actual physical furniture. But from what I could see, all of the women around that table would at one point in time in our colloquial African American vernacular English had been called red women. In other words, lighter skinned, brighter skinned women. So that whole table was filled with red women, and there's a lot of them. And it was pretty easy for me to just do snapshots from the video to get pictures of most of them. But as you know, getting hair texture is critical to being able to score. So this isn't going to be the sort of formal, thorough scoring that you may be used to here. But it will just, it'll be a sort of a discussion about it, and sort of just a survey and a run through. And I also wanted to circle back around. I think it'll be some natural segues to talking about gender negotiations, returning to the statistics that we know about interracial mating and dating, and the way the gender dynamics play out when you're just even having conversations with people, not even face to face, not even like in FaceTime. They may have never seen you before. Maybe they've heard your voice. Maybe they are convinced that you're female. They being, it could work the other way around, but my experience has been as a female and seeing the interesting responses that I get. from males. And I don't really, I don't remember the last time. I think I recently tweeted, had a little tweet war, a little tiny tweet war with some troller about the reparations issue on Twitter. But I mean, I think it had been years since I had talked to a non-black person about anything concerning racism. But yeah, so when I'm talking about the males that I'm interacting with online, yeah, I'm talking about black males. And so it's pretty interesting the things that little theories that I have about why they behave as they do. And I'm sure, I know for a fact because I've heard and read lots of other other black females complain of similar things. I don't know if they're always done in the same style that they're done with me, but yeah, I've heard it, and it's also interesting when it happens when there's just some interesting dynamics to it. Um, so shall we get started? I think I would prefer. We always rate people, and that's fun. Sometimes it's more fun than others, depending on how much work goes into it. Um, I probably will get to a period of time where I will be requesting people to send me the pics and hopefully that they're representative so that we can rate folks, cut down on the amount of work, and increase the amount of participation. Um, but, it's always fun. And today it's not as fun for me because, I'm having, some issues, some upper respiratory issues, not asthma or anything like that. Just, I'm not sure if it's asthma, if it's an allergy or a virus, but you might be able to hear it. So because of that, I'm going to try to keep my energy kind of high, but yeah. So I'm going to circle back around to these ratings. But I guess what I want to do first is talk about, yeah, I think that's definitely the first thing to do, is talk about some just generalities. We got a table full of women, and the conversation at that red table talk was centered around, I mean, it was a bunch of women. How many is that? Seven women? Um, 7 women who I am sure all would call themselves black women. And it was centered around the discussion of men in one way or another. Guess I should take this starting soon off because we have started. So let me take that one off. So it was centered around men. And because of that, I thought, well, why don't we start talking about some generalities that have to do with males and females? And so let's do that. Yeah, I'm going to open up some PDFs so we can talk about that. Best we can, anyway. I'll get to it.
Cree, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Your sound is going in and out. It's not you're not. Can you hear me? It's not impossible to hear you, but when you're quiet and then you start talking again,
Mm-hmm.
uh, part of the beginning of your sentence is cut off. I don't know. You're using a different mic or a
No,
different way to record.
it's the same mic. Mike, that's really weird. Um, okay. Is it you were still having the same problems even right now?
Well, you sound good on my phone, so I'm gonna listen back on the video.
Okay. Now, are you sitting in front of a computer? I'm good now. I see it myself. Okay. All right. So hopefully, you'll let me know how I'm sounding. Uh, I wanted to circle back around to this graphic which has been so useful for me for just several years now, probably three, four, five. And I mentioned it when I was doing the episode on not all swirlers are created equal, and was pointing out, in this particular graphic, something different that I'm going to point out today, but I'll just review what I was pointing out the last time. And what I was pointing out is this lower grid here, everything below this horizontal line that I'm showing with my cursor. So what you can see, this shows the lowest response rates in anonymous dating. So, this is what people are really doing in real life, regardless of what they say they're doing. And so it clearly is showing that, well, let's start over here in the lower right quadrant, because that's unambiguous. The women who get the lowest response rate are black women, and I emphasized that during that one episode, All Swirlers Are Not Created Equal. So the women who get the lowest response rate are black women, and that includes responses by black men. Okay, and you find the exact same thing over here in this left lower quadrant, where you see that the men who get the lowest response rate are black men, except by one group of women, which is black women. And so this is what I had emphasized when I did that one episode about all swirlers not being created equal. The black men were always my first choice, but I was almost going to talk about it then, but I'm going to talk about it now. And so while that is true, so if we're talking about response rates relative to other races of men and races of women, it's clear that, the numbers don't lie. And this is anonymous, right? But there's some really, there's like a really critical, I don't know if it's fireworks or maybe, I don't know if the word astounding, maybe the word brutal. This has to do with, again, with what I had talked about in terms of this ongoing negotiation for socio-political capital. The ongoing power dynamic between male and female that goes on intergroup and extragroup. And the intergroup stuff has a relationship to the intragroup stuff. So the male-female relationships within a group can be altered by, and I believe that's the whole purpose, I believe that's how it all started, can be altered by, bringing in something, a separate dynamic, opening the system up to a different kind of women so that it lowers your leverage. Imagine, that you have a certain market of any type of thing within in a country. This is what the whole thing about tariffs is all about. If you talk about economics in general, and economics is just transaction, right? It's the total sum of what people are doing and saying. But so just economics, period. This is what tariffs are all about. You can, if you're in a country, there's a certain dynamic that goes on in terms of what the prices are going to be for any given commodity or service, okay, or any given product. But once you open your borders up to trade with other groups of people, those groups of people may be able to undercut you. They may be able to may be willing to take a lower quality of the product. And so maybe where the seller had the advantage before, he or she loses an advantage when trading, when trade is opened up. And this is how interracial mating and dating is affecting the relationship between black men and black women. And so far, it has always been to the advantage of black men. I suppose this has been going on for, you know, at least hundreds, certainly more than 500 years from the evidence that I've seen. There are old photos of of black men rescuing the white women in the water and leaving the black women to flounder. And there's the whole. It's gotten to be sort of a trite thing now to talk about how the Moors bred themselves out of existence. That very phrase and that exact wording. Um, so what I wanted to do now is just look at let's look at the gender imbalance. Okay. So yeah, we accept that. We accept the facts that black women are chosen last. But see, here's the thing. Look at the response rates though. Do you remember I told you that in any transaction, the party who has the least urgency to complete that transaction has the greatest power? Okay? So women have lesser urgency to complete a sexual transaction. Now, that is not to say that men are not capable of the finer emotions, but um, there's a balance. You know, both are getting some of each. Women are getting more emotional and physical security, and some sex. Um, but the emphasis is more on, in terms of what they're giving, is that they're giving their sexual attractiveness, they're giving their willingness to have sex in a way that's satisfying for a man. Okay. Which will mean, of course, period, that she's just a female, period, but I mean, of course, one who looks fertile, or at least impresses the primitive brain of the man as being fertile. And later on, as we get to more proofs of this on my PDF tabs, we're going to find out that that's not just going to be childless women. That's a misnomer. And it's not going to just be women in their early teens and early 20s either. Yeah, women have a shorter span for fertility, but as long as that span is still kicking, um, or at least it looks like it's kicking, she still is going to have relative power in the transaction with most men. Okay? So now let's look at these numbers. Let's just go one by one. What is the Asian, the Asian male, what is the Asian women's, make sure I'm clear, what is the Asian women's response to black males? What's that response rate? 3.3%. The Asian women's response to black males is 3.3%. This is so important that I'm going to check with Kofi and make sure that my audio is not going in and out. Kofi, am I okay? Okay. Not hearing from him, but he did text me.
Yeah, Cree, you were good initially, and then I don't know, you started to come in and out. Cree, you were good.
Hmm. Ha. What can I do?
Are you moving away from the mic?
No, I'm making a concerted effort to lean right into it.
Well, it's pretty good. Just I don't know, just speak up. I said.
Speak up.
Usually it's only the first couple parts of the sound that get cut off, but you're still able to be heard pretty well now.
I'm gonna up my mic and see if that's better. So I just upped the mic level. Is this sounding maybe better? Counter-racist evolving engineer, united independent compensatory code system concept, a textbook workbook for thought, speech, and action for victims of racism, white supremacy. How does that sound? Any better?
Okay, I had to wait a little while to respond to you because the video on YouTube is a little bit delayed, but it sounds good now. I think the loss of the first couple sounds is gone now.
Okay,
So
right.
I'm gonna keep listening though, and I'll text you if anything. So just keep your phone up.
Okay, for sure. Okay. All right. Um, so, yeah, I guess we'll just start that again. Asian women's response rate to black men is at 3.3%, if I'm reading that correctly. Okay? Look, now let's look on the other side of the grid, on the right hand side in this quadrant right here. What is Asian men's response to black women? 10.3%. 10.3%, well over three times as much. 300% more. See, even though relative to other women we have a lower response rate, we still have a higher response rate than men. Okay? Same thing with let's go to Latinos. They have a low response rate to black men. Latinos have a response rate of 2.6%. Okay, 2.6% to black men. What is Latinos' response rate to black women? 9.1%. Again, well over 300% more. Let's look at white men's response. I'm sorry, we're back on the left-hand side. White men's response to, I'll be able to see it easier here. Let's look at white men's response to black women. 2.8%. White women's response to black men is 2.8%. But white men's response to black women is 8.5%. Not quite three times as much, but darn near close. And then let's finally look at our brothers. It sounds a little incestuous. I've always thought the term brother and sister, when you're talking about sexual dynamics, that sister right there sure is fine, that brother's fine. I've always thought that sounded a little weird, you know. I've never been for those types of terms of endearment or attraction. Hey, daddy. Hi, hey, mom. I mean, just weird to me. Like, we're not supposed to be entering terms of kinship when we're talking about sexual attraction to me. Anyway, so black men's, I'm sorry, where was I? So black women's response to white men, black women's response to white men is 5.4%. But white men's response to black women is 8.5%. And now let's go to black on black. So black women's response to black men is going to be over here in the highest response. It's not even going to be down here in the lowest, right? Black women's response to black men is 9.3%. 9.3%. It's pretty darn high. And black men's response to black women, it's the highest of all of them. Even though it's lower relative to all of the other women, it's still the highest response rate of all men to us is 16.4%. But compare, 16.4 to 9.3. Okay. Now, the thing is, we've never traded on that. We've never traded on that. And I suspect it has to do with, The nature of men. Well, what do you say? You say, Cree, what do you mean by the nature of men? Well, um, let's just say now we have already established that there are two types of beauty, political and evolutionarily. But men want to be attracted to they want to find a woman sexually attractive. Okay, um, and for some reason, black women have gotten it into our heads, and for some reason, like I don't know the reason, um, black women have had it beaten into our heads that white men like petite women. They don't like they don't go so much for the curves like black men do, and so all the way around. It's not just, I mean, obviously in the last 15 or 20 years, the standard has changed. It's coming back to what it was, say, in the 1950s, 1960s, Jane Mansfield, Marilyn Monroe, but only rounder. I mean, men have always liked a, at that point, near abouts that point 0.7 ratio of waist to hips. They like curves. And they like it's the curves themselves that they like, and it isn't the size per se. Okay, and that's all men. You might not believe that because that's not what they tell you. And black men having more male hormones come off as more virile, and the expectation for other men is that black women are more expecting a more sexually virile, not just in the actual act, but just in carriage, than maybe they think of themselves. Okay, but the fact has never gone away that all men find curvaceous women sexually attractive. Okay? Now, we're not talking about, this is not a substitution for obesity. Obesity and thickness are not the same thing. But as we had talked about, or I had talked about in a previous broadcast, and I can't even remember which one it was, it's just more likely to find the curves on a woman of a certain size. And it's in this article here. There's a part in here about age, which I kind of referenced earlier, and if I have time, I'll circle back to it. But right now we're talking about shape, shape and size. So I'll just read it, starting right here. Like youth, a woman's body size appears to be an innate trigger of male arousal. Adjectives describing body size, such as chubby and thin, are the third most frequent category of adjectives appearing in dogpile searches. Most of these searches are not seeking the slender bodies of cover models. For every search for, quote, skinny, end quote, girl, there are almost 3 searches for fat girl. On the web, many men are fans of BBW, Big Beautiful Women, which on the Alexa list, there are more than 504 adult sites explicitly dedicated to heavy ladies and only 182 explicitly dedicated to skinny ones. The women on adult BBW sites have very large and round breasts, large and curvy hips, and large and round butts. Indeed, the overall impression is one of a supersized visual cue of femininity. Although the majority of women in mainstream porn are skinnier than average, toothpick thin women are a rarity. Many sex scientists believe that women's waist to hip ratios are a visual cue for men. Some research suggests that men around the world find a specific waist to hip ratio, 0.7, to be most arousing. Even a particular part of the male brain associated with reward processing, the anterior cingulate gyrus, appears to be activated when a man views an ideal waist to hip ratio. However, hips and waist themselves rarely appear in sexual searches. If men prefer a low waist to hip ratio, this may be one reason why some men prefer heavy women, since many of the models featured in BBW porn have a low ratio due to their excessive hip size. And it doesn't even have to be women who qualify for BBW. Just what black men have always known, that a thicker size, not an obese size, not an official BBW. Although I'm not trying to hate on those sisters, that's always been attractive. So when you see these statistics that where the men of all the races are far more likely to be attracted to black women than black women are to be attracted to them, that's for real. But black women just have never traded on that because either we just don't find non-black men attractive, which I really believe because that's what's happened to me, or which non-black males have a hard time approaching because see, a lot of times and this is not what I am doing, what I am developing here is an explanation for what seems to be happening in terms of the change in what is political beauty and why you hear people like Aisha Curry complaining and why all those women were sitting at the red table. I am going to, I hope what I'm doing is demonstrating the direction that things are headed in terms of the negotiations. That's the soft way of putting it. The negotiations between black males and black women. Black men have opened up trade, sexual trade. They've opened up the sexual trade so that they didn't have to accede to the requests and demands of black women. And I'm not talking about recently. I think this has been going on for centuries. But black women have not done the same. But things have gotten so bad now you're going to see much more of it. Now, as non-black men believe that they can compete with black men for black women's admiration, you're going to see more and more of that. But of course, what will go along with that, since the white non-black man plays the tune, that of course raises the sexual stock of black women, and I'm talking about unambiguously black women. So I don't know if you've noticed it, but when I look at at advertisements when I'm watching basketball, or if I'm shopping at Walmart or what have you, I see a lot of natural hair. I see more. Now, maybe California is ahead of the rest of the country. I don't know. I'll be finding that out in a few weeks. I'll be going to the East Coast. But the majority of the women I see are brown to dark skinned, and they have what we call 3 hair. Other people, those hair typing sites would say 4 hair of different types. And that hair has a matte finish, not a gleam, not a sheen, not a gloss. And they're trim, sometimes very curvy, but that's what's being promoted. And as the sexual stock of black women go up to non-black men, all of a sudden we will become more attractive to black men. It's almost as if we can't seem to find our way to one another, or at least black men can't find their way back to us, most black men, unless they get the stamp of approval that, oh, that was something that good that you passed by. You know, it's like all of a sudden, if there got to be this 5-star restaurant, and there are in many cities, it's been going on for a couple of decades now, where the majority of the patrons at soul food restaurants are not black. Oh, it becomes very trendy for black people if it's done right. You know, if it's done right. Even chitlins or chitterlings, if that became like the hot thing for non-black people to eat, all of a sudden it would just be like, you know, black people would want to show up there, you know, and eat it. It's the same thing with black men and black women. This is what I think is probably going to happen. This is what I think is going to happen. I don't, you know, now what I do see is already. I do see already, and I think that because of that, you can see the reflection in it in these red women. I do see already, like I've seen in various videos on YouTube and so on, that these black men who have a history of dating only non-black women or really, really light, bright women, they're kind of catting out now, and they're starting to date black women. They may not be unambiguously, but they're darker skinned. Some of them are unambiguously, because some of these black men see it coming. They see it coming, and what they have always known is that black women are in more demand than they are. We're just now figuring it out. Now I mean, what I could do is explain what men are doing. See the thing is men think they choose. And to some degree they do, of course, you know, because I mean, women that men just overlook, no matter how many cues of availability a woman gives, because she just doesn't, you know, she just doesn't do it for him. He doesn't find her appealing. You know, he's choosing in the sense of he's choosing in that sense. But sure, how attractive a woman is, how physically attractive a woman is, how fertile she looks, how healthy her set of genes look by the clarity of her eyes and the quality of her skin, and you know, how balanced are her features, which indicates a balanced set of two healthy genes from both parents. You know, all of that stuff counts. You know, men can, of course, we know men are visual, so are women. Of course, we know that. But see, a lot of what what drives it, men don't know it, but what drives it is women's cues of availability. And if you think about it evolutionarily, that makes sense, right? Like he doesn't want to have to put in a whole lot of energy to execute the basic male, you know, one of the basic male strategies of procreation. Because the three basic strategies are monogamy, polygamy, and rape. I mean, if we're just talking about science. And, you know, rape can cause you some issues. And it's a lot of work. A lot of men get a thrill from it, but it's a lot of work. So it makes sense that a man is just looking, does she welcome me? Because women turn down most men. That's the way it goes. I mean, you can look at those ratios of response rates between to men to women. So like a 3-to-1 ratio, like I explained before. And even if she's responding, it doesn't mean she's willing to take it as far as he is. And to a lot of people will say, yeah, but those other non-black men, all they want is just to hit, they just want to hit it. You know, I've been hearing that for a long time, and like I said, California kind of leads the nation in that. But um, when I go to the local malls and I see far more black women with non-black men than I see the other way around. And I see wedding rings. I see baby strollers. and and because marriage has always been a way to secure a steady supply of sex. Every study has shown that coupled people, usually traditionally married people, have more sex than single people. Big surprise. Um, so with non-black men, um, it's just that's what they're used to doing. They're used to pursuing. This isn't the days of slavery where it was no cost, or even Jim Crow where there was no cost to just going and just getting some from a black woman who couldn't defend herself, right? So there's some cost, and the cost is resources and commitment to at least pretending like you're not shagging other women, and that's what I see. I see that more than anything else. I know people would want to believe that it's something different, and it was at one point, but I don't think it has been that for quite a while. Um, and it's not something that I'm sad. I'm actually saddened by the fact that black women have to prove our desirability to non-black men in order to regain the fervor of the men of our kind. It's really a sad. It's a sad state of affair. It's sexual gentrification is what it is. But unless black men get on it, I don't see any other a way around it. So as I was talking about in terms of who's sort of leading this dance between male and female, negotiations, sexual negotiations, dating, mating. I've highlighted ask men who usually makes the first move. I always forget to show the name of the article so that you can Google it. Toastmasters, affairs of the heart, signals of attraction and flirtation. And it certainly has been my experience. Okay. And that's a lot of the whole thing with any. Some of it is that she's not just, even if she's not showing that she's interested, she's still not getting men falling all over her. Not just because she's 30 and she looks a little different than she did when she was 23 and she just had a baby. Not just that, because she said it's been going on for the last 10 years. Not just because Steph Curry, is this person that no man can compete with. But she probably carries herself like she's not available. And men want to be welcomed. They want you to be available. So, and that means, like, are you open to me? Like, literally and figuratively. Okay, so let's get back to it. Ask men who usually make the first move in the mating game, and they will almost always say that the men do, except research studies suggest the opposite to be the reality. Women usually make the first move. Research shows that 90% of the time, women initiate the first move in the mating game. Women send out a series of subtle eye, body, and facial signals to the man she's targeting. If she's good at it, the man thinks he's taking the lead, although in fact, he's just dancing to her tune. A lot of women know this, some women don't. If a woman is to succeed in the ritual, she has to count on the man to decode the signals she sends out. She must then respond to the signals he sends back in a way that gives him the green light to move to the next stage. For a man to succeed in this game, He has to be able to read the signals correctly. There are men who approach women in a club or bar without being sent the green light. While some of these men are regularly successful with finding partners using these techniques, looking like and having the style of, I don't want to say that guy because whatever, white heartthrob, would help. Their overall statistical success rate is low because they weren't invited first. Uh, just give me a second to get a little pause, a little drink of water to clear what I need to clear. 1 second. Okay. Um, then it says when they meet uh, a possible partner, women send out subtle but deceptive courting signals to see whether he's worth pursuing. Women tend to bombard men with courting rituals in the first minutes of meeting them. Men may misinterpret these signals and make clumsy passes. Consequently, with some men, when a lady says no, she means maybe. When she says maybe, she means yes. And the opportunities for misinterpretation turning into trouble expand. By sending ambiguous signals in the early stages, women can manipulate men into showing their hand. This is also a reason why many women have trouble attracting men. Men being less perceptive in the interpretation of social signals becomes confused and won't make an approach. And so I would say, black women just haven't been sending out those signals. Then you have to be pretty. You have to be pretty bold. You have to be pretty bold with men. So they just haven't been sending out those signals, and because there's all this racial tension, and it should be there. And so black women are expecting a white man to step to them pretty confidently. Well, first of all, white men have a real hard problem accept stepping to any woman confidently, but especially a black woman who they think has had, that stuff that comes in black, right? So, as black women get better at that, and they're going to, this is the state that we're in. It has already turned about here, and I suspect that it's going to happen that way nationwide. I can't talk about the world, okay? And so this is my plea that more men get like my colleague, Brother Kofi, and appreciate the charms and beauties genuinely, because we know the difference between, of black women before it gets the stamp of approval from non-black men. Because by the time it gets there, it's going to be such a hard time coming back. It's going to be, a gnashing of teeth. So that was that one. And then finally, I wanted to talk about the strangeness of that graphic. Do you remember the AYI graphic I started out with that talked about how Asian women are the favored women of all men? Well, it turns out that too is connected to fear of rejection, or the likelihood of success, right? So there was this TED talk, and this was this woman who had done the mathematics on being successful as an online dater, and she was able to. Yeah, I may have highlighted it. I hope I did. If I didn't, just have to summarize it. Um, she was emphasizing that the best looking women are not the women. Here it is. Okay, so I'll just read it. She said, and this is just based off mathematical modeling, just like the "Are you interested?" study. She actually like looked at the data, and if you look at the TED talk, you can see the graphing and so on. You're actually better off having some other people think that you're a massive minger. In UK talk, that means that you're ugly. Uh, it's better off. Well, it starts off by saying, so what that means is that when some people think that you're attractive, that's better than if all of them do. That everybody thinks you're the cute girl next door, and that begins to make a bit more sense when you think in terms of people who are sending messages. So let's say that you think someone's attractive, but you suspect that other people won't necessarily be that interested in understanding that men are doing much more of this than women, right? That means that there's less competition for you, and it's an extra incentive for you both to get in touch. Whereas compare that to somebody that you think is attractive, but you suspect that everyone else is going to think they're attractive. Well, why would you bother humiliating yourself? Let's be honest. So, with Asian women, there are these men who just really like that sort of very petite, almost boyish frame. But there are a lot of men who just cannot tolerate that lack of curvaceousness. And their faces, at least in the United States, we tend to think of them as homogenous. You know, I mean, maybe it has something to do with the geometry of their faces, and maybe it has something to do with the fact that we don't see them very often. Although I've been seeing a lot of them here, living, on the West Coast, which is right, we're right next to the Pacific Ocean. Um, maybe that's it, or it may have to do with the geometry of their faces. As somebody in our secret group pointed out, their facial features tend to be closer together. So because of that, it can create this difficulty for people who aren't around a lot of them to differentiate to differentiate between them as easily as someone else. And so if I really think about it, I really can't think of too many Asians that I have found hideous or that I would even describe ugly facially. By the same token, I can't think of any, very few, if at all, that I would consider beautiful. So that's that sort of sweet spot that this mathematical researcher was talking about. That the chances for rejection are low. You might find something attractive about them, and so they're the most popular. That's what it takes to be a popular on online dating sites. For a lot of people to think, no way, and it's the spread that makes the difference in terms of making you more popular. It isn't just the mean; it's how that mean comes about. If just about everybody thinks you're a 7 or an 8 or a 9, you're not going to be nearly as popular. But if some people think you're a 3 and some people think you're a 10, and it averages out to about the same thing, a 7 or 8, you're much better off because somebody's going to are going to try. Whereas if everybody seems to think you're an 8 or a 9, you probably aren't going to, you're probably not going to get too many responses. So I say all that to say that I think what is going on in terms of the way that the work that I have been doing, and I'm speaking about, I mean, I've been doing it with a group of people. But when it comes to me specifically, and I'm not going to call any names, don't worry. When it comes to me specifically, and it's not just about the Cree tool, the measuring. When it comes to me specifically, a lot of the reaction has to do with. I mean, you could call it misogynoir, and you can call it misogyny by black men. You know, I'm a woman, and because of this imbalance of power between the sexes, which I've talked about before in terms of whoever has the greatest strength, it's men don't want women to have any other kind of advantage, and they want, if at all possible, to have something to be able to hold against you, right? So I might be living in a dream. I might be living in an illusion in which all of the experiences that I have had since age 10 up until now, in which I've been like officially tested and you know, by other people, not just taking tests myself, as having synapses and neurons that work very well, you know, above, significantly above, you know, other people. Not everything about me is like that, but you know, and that usually comes across pretty quickly. And that is just not an advantage that men are willing to abide, given the deficit that they're in, generally speaking, which is why that Netflix movie, See You Yesterday, was so important, because the primary theorist was a young black female high school student. So there's that. But take it or leave it with this little study. And people want to continue to argue ad hominem forever and ever about, you know, the tool, but they want to, you know, not people, just a few men. And I had a little bit of trouble with one female at one point, but just a few men, just like, they just want to argue me and my history rather than the tool itself. And I've even told them, listen, if you want to have that discussion, I have a whole video up. There's a whole long comment section. We can have that discussion right there about whether or not you think I'm a black male hater, you know. And of course, expletives, they threw in expletives, you know. We can have that, but they don't want that. And so that's not good enough for them. And so then the next thing they want is they want a picture of me. And I said at the beginning, it's time for me to repeat it. Yeah, if I get 50K subs, guess what? You get to see me as I'm talking. So you know I'm not catfishing. So you know it's me. But until that, no. And you know, there are plenty of the black, who is it, the professional, the Black Authority and Jason Black and so on. There are lots of YouTube channels like that, and there's not all this stuff about we need to see you in order to be able to tell whether or not what you're saying is correct. No, the reason that men want to see a woman when she is talking about something academic is because they want to argue. If they want to argue ad hominem. If they can't argue ad hominem based on the facts that they know about her because she said them, then of course you know where they want to go. That they're hoping is that I'm this really homely, ugly, obese, looking aged woman that they can just attack and for that and dismiss it. But you see, there are other women who are saying things that they love, who can be they can look any way they want. They can even look like they have a total lack of interest in men. I'll put it like that. And nobody has any problem with that. but they don't have any problem with and they act as if they can't, that what I've written can't be deciphered. They can't decipher it. It needs to be submitted to a panel of biochemists when we've made it clear that that's not what it's about. It's about phenotype. It's the type of thing that people just make judgments on, like if a car was going west and it was going east this period of time, and could this have happened? Making judgments on auto collisions or all kinds of civil suits. It's that type of thing. It's a jury of our peers in terms of what it means to be a black person. Who is an expert? Who is a peer? Who is a peer in terms of being an expert on what it's like, or what it means to be a black person? What is a black person? Black people. Pretty simple. We live it. So if you could follow logic and you're a black person, you should be able to follow that. But they don't ask for peer review. They're peers, but they don't want it to go to Harvard University, or let's say Howard University, when it is Claude Anderson, right? Or even Dr. Ben. There was no peer review. Um, as, Other than that one test that Dr. Diop did on the melanin dosage test, for UNESCO. I don't think his was peer reviewed. Dr. Welsing was saying things black males love to hear, so that you didn't need it for that. But when it requires excluding, and it's a black woman who wants to do it, who wrote it, when it requires having exclusivity to what it means to be a black person, and that's coming from a black woman, especially, and that's probably going to mean that you're going to have to exclude your preference. Oh no. No, see, now you want a pound of flesh. You want anything that you can use on me. And I think that's still rooted in the sexual dynamics that I spoke about earlier. Okay, and I was hoping that I would still have enough energy left to go through these ratings. So let me put on just a little music while we transition. And then when I come back, anybody who wants to call in and discuss anything that I've said so far. And the other thing is the last video I did is like I didn't see too many comments, and I really do want to qualify. I said, look, if you're gonna call in and rate somebody, please be qualified. Please have read the paper, or at least watched the video $5 Negroes, the Ados movement and $5 Negroes, and the one before that had the Kamala Harris. It had the thumbnail had Kamala Harris and Cory Booker and Barack Obama on it, and it summarized the paper. At least do that. But that was a no way of saying I don't want to talk to you folks. I do. I want to hear what you have. I want to read what you have to write. I absolutely do. And today, since we're not going to be going through full ratings of anybody, yeah, definitely call in the number 760-249-2068. I should probably put that up, and I will. Give me a second. Yep. It's just moving it up enough to where you can see it. Mm. 249, no, it's 760-249-2068. Yep, that's the number. So, yeah, I'm just going to put on a little music while I transition to the Red Table Talk stuff. And, we'll just kind of go through and talk about their traits and whether or not those red women are black women. Sounds almost like nonsense, doesn't it? Kind of does. But, if it does, well, just does. So be right back and put that heavy beat on again.
without have no soul.
Okay, we're back at y'all with that real effing talk. Um, and it looks like it'll just be Brother Kofi and I. Is my mic registering? Yes, it is. So it looks like that's it. And that'll be okay. I'm not sure this time if. And he on this one he might have like lots and lots of pushback, and I'm ready to hear it. But I'm trying to. I'm listening. If you have pushback or questions, because I know you prefer to put yours in the form of questions. Yeah, let's hear it.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, based on I'm gonna go to the to the slides. That's what I'm trying to do right now. But those prefatory comments I had on the sexual negotiations and the effect of interracial stuff affecting the racial stuff between black people. You didn't have anything you wanted to add. You just wanted to just let me speak for myself. Is that how that works?
I did actually. Glad you asked. Kind of slipped my mind. The thing about East Asian women, I wanted to speak a little bit on that before we moved on to the rating.
Okay.
So, I have some thoughts on why some black men just prefer them because, like you said, the shape is off-putting. That their body shape is off-putting. Their face is just not attractive to me. It's always really I've always wondered why do some black dudes really go for these East Asians? There's just I never could figure it out. And then I thought that the dudes that I have seen that get with them usually are types that black women, I don't know, don't really want to deal with. I don't want to say they're lame because I'm a lame in that
Huh.
in in that kind of way of speaking. I don't I'm not that good of a dresser, and I don't have these great lines to pick up women. So I think that I fall in that same bracket. So it's not that they're lame, because even some black women like dudes like me. You
Uh-huh.
know what I mean?
Sure.
So it's not just being a lame. It's something else that they have that black women see. Because I've noticed it. I've
Okay.
noticed that black women don't deal with these dudes. They don't even really look at them. Um, I think it's that when and I don't think it's just East Asians. I think that's just East Asians are the most popular ones, so they might be the ones that catch a lot of the dudes. But what it is they can't see, if you're not a black American person, you can't see the flaws that are in these men. You can't see what it is that make them unattractive to their local black women. Like these black men can kind of just get over on the East Asian women. Um, and they just they get with them, and and the East Asians think that they have a cool black man just like all the rest of them, but it's not the case, and they can't see whatever it is that black women don't want in them, because they're not they weren't raised with them. So that's one of the thoughts that has been bouncing around in my head, because it's been really weird for me to see that. Like to see a black man with an ugly white woman, I kind of can understand that, just by the history of this country.
Right.
But the ones that just go for the Asian, I never really got it. And when you brought up talking about their face and their body shape, that kind of triggered me a little bit, because it's something I've been really thinking about for a while.
That's really interesting, and I think that's definitely probably at play to some extent. What makes me wonder how much, though, is just that graphic, that "Are you interested" graphic, which showed that they are. It's not just a small fragment of black men who prefer them. It's they are the overall preference of black men, not just some small tiny fragment, and then the overall
Oh,
preference of all men in
mhm.
online dating sites.
Right. That's the qualifier there. These are online dating sites. I've never been on an online dating site. Even back when the internet was new, I kind of hesitated to even want to talk to girls online while everybody was. There's a certain type of person that does online dating, and then there's a certain type of people that don't. And I suspect that up until very recently, most black people weren't really taking online dating seriously. I think maybe black men may have taken it a little bit more seriously than black women, uh, in order to kind of date and in order to have casual sex. I think black men were doing online dating a little bit more, but I think up until recently, I would guess that most black people weren't doing it anyway. So that that number there is a small. If what I'm saying is accurate, then that number is a small portion of black people that are preferring Asians. That
Okay,
number of online dating.
so you think the black men's attraction to them is quite something set apart, and it could be something quite set apart from other men's, um, not attraction,
Yeah,
but
because if that was accurate, then then black people in general, I should be able to walk down the street and like it should be a known thing that black men prefer Asian women, and I just don't hear that. I hear that from a small you know group of black men. They're all similar,
hmm,
who say that their favorite type of woman is an Asian woman. But
okay.
generally, that's not the case. I don't think.
Okay. And I'm totally open to that because we are radically different. We think differently, we
Hmm.
see differently. So I'm totally open to that. So, um,
Things are
that's
changing though. And my idea of black people is beginning to be, um, you know, black people are changing fast and a lot to a point where what I think of black folks is not going to be normal anymore. It might be the old way of thinking, and I don't know if I'm in that field yet, but I'm getting close to there.
huh, huh. Can you give me one more example of how,
Of mhm.
yeah,
Of how what?
of how your conception of how black people think and act is different than what may be the norm
Um,
going forward?
yeah, the okay, I'll give two. One is um, a lot of black people are saying that they don't want to be in a relationship at all, like they're good on their own. I'm hearing that a lot more, and that I've never known to be the case. I've always known black people because I've al- for most of my life I've lived in majority black areas. So I'll hear them talking. I'll talk to them, and it's always you do want to be in a relationship. You do want to get with somebody and be happy with them. Now I'm hearing that less and less, and I'm hearing more people saying I don't want to do that. I don't want children. You know, that's
Hmm.
one.
Hmm.
And the other one is the sexual attitudes of black people, the sexual acts that are okay or that are cool, and that when I was coming up, when I was still single, things weren't the same, as or at least black people didn't talk about what they did
Hmm.
if that thing wasn't generally accepted by the masses.
Huh. Okay. Okay. Looks like the people who run the music industry have really
I
had a
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that's another one. That's another one. The drugs. When I was coming up, the only thing that black folks did smoke weed, drink alcohol. Now everything is good to go.
Wow.
Cocaine, pharmaceuticals, every new drug that comes on the scene, it's good to go. And that blows me away because when I was younger, I always thought we won't get caught out. We black folks won't get caught out with drugs again. crack did a number on us, and we all know that now. Our parents told us, and we know now. We're not gonna get caught up with drugs. White folks are gonna have to do something else to us. But I was wrong because we are, you know, we out here with even in Africa, folks is drinking um,
Wow.
lean cough syrup and soda or juice or whatever they mix it with. Pharmaceuticals that they can get their hands on. It's wild. Like I that's just a big surprise to me. So that's why I'm saying my ideas are becoming old school. I don't know when I'm going to be fully an old head, but I'm getting close to there.
Oh, that's so funny. And I have to just listen to that. I have to you'll see. Cuz everything is so relative. You know what I mean? Everything is so relative.
Hmm.
But even like I heard my 28 and 20 no 30 year about your age.
Okay.
My 30 and 27-year-old nephews tell me so it was so funny to look at them and hear them shaking their head at people who were 25 and down. They were like,
Mm.
I don't even know who they are. Like they're a whole different they're a whole different kind of person. Like I don't get what they are. They're just there's something different. That was for me it's like you got to be kidding. You know what I mean? There's 3 years between you. I mean, how can that be? But they were so
Yeah.
adamant about it. So
Right. Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine you looking back at us who are, a few decades or a couple decades younger than you. You think
yeah,
we're all the same, but I think there's big differences even in the 5 years or 3 year different groups of us. There's in it, and the music is a big part of it.
yeah,
The internet in general is a big part of it. We used to be disconnected from the ideas of white folks. Now they have all of these shock websites where they throw up images. They throw up images. They throw videos up. They say wild things that we just before we weren't into that. So now this information age has interconnected a lot of people and has started to mold and combine a lot of our ideas of what's okay and what's not.
wow. Yeah, well, the human brain is really plastic. It's just a matter of how plastic it can, how ductile it is. Like, can they sustain it without, can that change be sustained without constant pressure? Can they make it permanent? Yeah. So I guess we're about to see.
Hello?
Yeah. Hey, somebody's here.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just seeing if you could hear me. I thought I had to press a certain number to be able to speak.
You normally would have to, but not here. Yeah, whenever you are, if you had something you wanted to add to this part of it before we went on to just looking at the women at the Red Table Talk, you give us a handle and the basic part of the country or world you're kind of calling from, and have at.
I'm calling from upstate New York. And I'm sorry. I hope you feel better too, Cree. I'm sorry. You're
It's
so sick.
it's okay.
Also, I can't hear that well when I play it. I'm listening through my phone,
Oh,
and I can't hear it very well on YouTube. And so I can hear better when I call in.
oh. This is what
So
this
so
is.
I
Yeah.
yes, I prefer to listen on my phone through the call instead of the video because I may have messed my phone up. I may have gotten water in the mic. Maybe I don't know. Maybe a little. I don't know. So maybe it's something on my end.
And maybe not, because Kofi was telling me that he was having problems earlier in the broadcast hearing, so it might be something on this end. We're going to find out when it uploads. Hope not.
Yes, the music. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, there's a delay, so don't worry about it. What were you going to say?
The music is perfect. The volume of the music is perfect, but then I can't really hear you that well. And I have had that problem with other people that I call into, that I listen to when they do lives too. I can't hear very well, so I think it may be something with my phone.
It's not you, Jenny. Cree's mic is kind of low. My wife said the same thing. That her phone volume is kind of low, and when I listen on my phone in the car, it is kind of low. So maybe we could figure a way to raise Cree's mic somehow without raising everything else.
Well,
Oh, okay.
thank you, because that's been very important for us to hear. So thank you for that. And I am even raising my mic even further. Just seems like it's out of control. But well, if this is what it is, it's what it is. Do I have two mics on? No, I don't. Let me make sure this one is off. Maybe it's because they're canceling each other out. Okay, I'm. Is this any better as I finish this sentence? Either one of you. Does this sound any better, Kofi? Can you ask your wife? Huh.
No, she's not on the phone right now, so
Okay,
I
cool.
couldn't ask her.
All right, it's fine. Well, all right. So I'm gonna just kind of go over these red table women. So let's take a look at them. Take a look. Take a look. Put our standard bearers up always, and these are screenshots that I just took from the video itself. So this is the easiest one. It almost sounded like you were about to say I'm not loud enough. Or were you about to say that?
Who, me?
Yeah, okay, I guess not. This is the shortest one, and I hope I have them all in the right order. I may not, but this is supposed to be Jada. And I'm going to come to her last for a reason. Okay, because that wasn't Jada to begin with. That was Willow. And it's actually Willow that I want to get to last for a reason. But let's start with who they said was the matriarch. Steph Curry's mother. Sonia Curry. Okay. We can't see her natural hair, so we're not going to be able to rate her. But look at that skin. I can hear something in the background.
Yeah, I think that's Jenny listening to it on the YouTube maybe.
That's okay.
And
I'm
listening
sorry.
No, I can mute.
I'm sorry.
I'll mute you.
I was women.
I was trying to hear you. Huh. Okay, I'm gonna just, I don't know. I'll leave it open.
I'm sorry. I was trying to.
Go ahead. We got this delay. Don't worry about it. It's like a 2-second delay. What were you gonna say?
I'm sorry. I was trying to look at the images while you were talking so I could see the women. I'm sorry. So I clicked out of the video.
Oh, okay.
Jenny, don't click out of the video. Just mute the YouTube video while you're listening on the phone. That way you can you know.
I tried and I didn't see how I could do it.
There's a volume button at the bottom of the video. And you just click the the volume button and it mutes it.
Or the other thing is I could or the other thing is I could just mute your mic so we don't hear you and you can hear everything we're saying.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no problem. All right. So back to Sonia Curry. I mean, I see a little. Her hair is. Why did that automatically shift? I thought I went to manual. Yeah, it's on automatic. Yeah, it's on automatic. I want to change that. I'm going to change it. Yeah. Jeez. Yeah, it's on automatic. Hang on for a second. Manual. Okay. And I've got to add some hotkeys. Just a second, folks. That's what goes into this YouTubing thing. I thought I had her. But as you were looking at the pictures, I hope you could see, I mean, other than you could see that her hair had a slightly different texture than you would expect of a white woman. To me, that looked just like a white woman. To me, close enough, but certainly not black.
Certainly.
But you know, if somebody told me that in her youth, where was it? So it was somewhere on, it was either on Facebook or YouTube. I don't remember. They said that when she was young, she looked like a light-skinned black woman. I didn't go through the trouble of trying to find that. Oh, so it says right, left, so it should be okay. All right. So let's go back to the beginning. I don't know where the beginning is. They're fading. I've never done fades before. I've always done cuts. Okay, so the nose, I do see it indenting some. And that's not that typical of a white woman, but is it enough to say that doesn't look like a white face to me? No. The lips, I would give those a 1. Not too far from Princess Diana to me. Skin color, obviously. Oh, here we go back to eye color. Let's go back to eye color. Pretty light colored eyes. I'd probably give those a 0. They look like white people's eyes. I mean, just like her son. Huh. So just a bunch of them, because I just had stills from the video. There she's sitting next to Steph's wife, Aisha. Now, in that nose bridge, I saw it indented some, but I also see that doesn't look like a 3 to me. I mean, that doesn't look that far away from a white woman's bridge to me.
Doesn't look like a 3 to me either, at all.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure maybe if you looked for more pictures, you might could find something, because it does look like it's a little bit of an indent somewhere. But no 3 at all.
This one has 3 women in it. I really had it for Sonia, but I mean, you can see her daughter Sidel. A little bit of curve, not too much. Also very light skinned, though not as light skinned as her mother, at least in this picture. And then here's Jada, and Jada's going to be interesting if I have the correct pictures, because Jada, from what I saw, she was the only one who was easy to just get older pictures. And this is not the Jada that was the Jada of early adulthood, to me, from what I saw, but we'll see. Okay, I think that's enough of her. All right, so that's Sonia. Let's close her out. Let's go to her daughter, Sidel. She's married to this black NBA player. That almost looks like a black woman right there. Just light skin. But I mean, you can't see her hair, so what can you do? She's looking lighter there. I don't know. I would give her, I would probably on that give her 2 for her skin. Nose bridge, I'd probably give her right on that one, probably a 2 or 3. Lips a 2. Now see, you look at the nose bridge there, I'd still give her a 2. And then you can see Jada's nose bridge looks like a 2. There it does, doesn't it?
In the previous picture, Jada's nose looked almost like a 3, the last one before.
And this
Here,
one too. This
yeah,
one too.
that one. I was like, what, a 2 or a 3?
2 to me, because it is curved, but it's not on the plane of her eyes.
Yeah. What would you say? Would you say a mid to high 2, or a low 2?
Mid 2.
Yeah. Okay.
And then here's Sidel's arms, and in these arms, she's looking lighter. So I'm not sure. I would still give her a 2 for skin.
Cree, did you look at this Red Table discussion? Did you watch it?
The whole thing.
Were they referring to themselves as black women, all of them?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Well, in the sense that when the question was asked by one of the women, Callie Rivers, who is the fiance of one of the of Steph Curry's brother.
Hmm.
Uh, she asked Sonia, the matriarch, whether or not she felt she had to choose when she was growing up, whether or not she was black or white. And that's when Sonia said, "Oh, I'm black. Yeah, no question." And then everybody at the table nodded yes. She said, "Oh, one drop and we're black." And then everybody's like, "Uh-huh." Everybody said that, except for Callie. Callie was left like thinking, "Really?" you know.
Yeah. Where she said one drop rule also. She
Uh-huh.
said that.
Sonia Curry did. Yep.
That's the mother. That's Steph Curry's mother, Sonia
Correct.
Curry.
Correct.
Okay. Ah, this is a this is a very sophisticated. This is a very sophisticated. I think there's a very sophisticated mental operation going on. Um, mental uh, molding operation going on. I don't know white folks is at the helm or non-black people is at the helm, but this is some they're really trying here with this. They didn't put anybody on there that is unambiguously black because if they had done that, it would have made them look really weird. Everybody talking about I'm black, black, we're all the same. It's wild.
Yeah, but here's the thing. That's what that whole family is. I mean, all those women are that. All of them. The mom, the daughter, the daughters in law. And then the Smith family, well, you know about them, right? I mean, that's just what it
Yeah.
is. What's interesting is that the Smith family already being so red that they didn't have any problem sitting all the rest of those red women next to them. You would have thought they would have had a moment of pause about that. So, yeah, it's hard to believe that wasn't consciously done because they should be kind of jealously guarding that themselves, which is why I'm saving Willow for last. Which is why, yeah, it's very interesting. Well, I will say this: I was reading an old paper about how racial classifications are made in Brazil. That was written by a guy in the United States, a white guy, and there was a signal sentence in there about how you could make no rhyme or reason of it because they tried to do it scientifically. Like they had a whole bunch of pictures and they had a whole bunch of terms and they charted which terms and how many terms were used for each picture and what combination of pictures. They morphed them and all that kind of stuff, and they couldn't make any rhyme or reason out of it. None. And so the signal sentence in that to me was, well, it wasn't said exactly like this, but it was said, perhaps the whole purpose of Brazil's racial classification system is to make sure that it's confusing and ambiguous. And the reason for that is, I think, the people who are confused are at the greatest disadvantage, right? So, it seems like it's taken black people in Brazil to really figure out who's black. Like, just based on how you're treated, it's not about labels. Like, people need to get over these labels and these official rules and look like sort of with a scientific eye as to this looks like this, and this is what happens to the people who look like this. But if you use a whole bunch of different tables and you put in a whole bunch of confusion, then this is what you get. And maybe the Brazilianization concept of confusing everything is what's at play here, and maybe that's why they were encouraged to do this.
Yeah, that makes sense, and it makes great sense in Brazil that their racial classification would be so confusing because I think that their population of black people, their percentage wise, is a lot higher than ours over here. It's a lot higher than ours over
Right.
here.
Right.
So you know they it's very necessary that they keep the black folks down there with their 150 different racial classifications. It's very important, probably very important to them that they keep them a lot more confused than the white folks up here have to worry about us. Because
Right.
if we're only 12%, then we could be confused or not, and we're gonna have a lot more trouble organizing and fighting against them than the black folks down there.
Makes total sense. Total sense. Sidel again. Sidel. Her hubby. Huh. Now, I don't know what her hair texture is like, but that right there doesn't look like a black woman. If, depending on what her hair is like, and it's all, you see, it's for people who say hair is not important, it's all riding on her hair. Because if she doesn't have a solid two hair, I can't, it's going to be, I can't see it happening. I'm thinking about the math, but yeah. But it's also interesting to me that if she has two hair, like look at the Miss USA and Miss American. They were wearing natural hair texture. They were wearing their two curly hair. That's all the rage now. You go in the supermarket, you could go to the drugstores, and there's whole long sections and aisles for mixed hair, curly hair. Like, that's the thing. So why would you straighten your hair if you had two hair? Why would you do that?
Right, that is the rage, and it's also the rage that I'm seeing a lot of black people with three hair going for that two and below. It's it's totally the rage, and yeah, and they're all, if they even had that, they're all throwing on them wigs or perms or whatever they're doing there. So yeah, it's a good question.
Sorry, I had to take care of that. Okay, that's Sidel. Let's close her out. Let's go to Callie Rivers, Doc Rivers' daughter. So, I almost wanted to move this away so you could see all the pictures. I think I can. Anywho, here's Sonia, the matriarch, Steph's mother. That's Steph's father. That's Steph's brother, Seth. And this is Callie Rivers, his fiance, and with their new baby. That's her mother. And if I can move Cynthia McKinney out of the way, you'd see her father. You can see his skin hue, but I want you to see his featuring too. So let me see if I can move him out of the way. Okay. So that's um, her. This is Callie Rivers. This is Doc Rivers, her father, and this is her. This is Callie Rivers' mother. This is Callie. Okay. So let's look at more pictures of Callie. Featuring wise, she strikes me as a light-skinned black woman. How about you?
Who is this woman now? His daughter?
Yes, that's his daughter.
Feature-wise, she strikes me as really borderline. It's hard for me to call her a black woman with that hair.
We can't see the hair. The hair's straightened.
That's what I'm saying. That's
right.
what I'm saying. It's hard for me to be confident in calling her a light-skinned black woman. She has some features, but it's just her skin is. Is this
light.
a two skin? It's a one skin.
Yeah,
no?
It's one. Look at the neck.
Okay, so if her hair is if her hair is shiny, then that's it. That's it for her. I mean, she has three nose. It looks like nose width, three eyes, lips, maybe two-ish. So like the other ones, it all rides on her hair,
Yeah.
um, which she's not showing us.
Yeah. None of them will do that. They won't show us.
Is this his daughter?
That is his daughter. Yeah, he's a coach in the NBA, and he was a
Okay.
player. Yeah, that's his daughter.
Yeah.
But you see how they're all
So
hooking up. You see how the quadroons and stuff are all and mulattoes are
yeah,
all
I
hooking up
do.
now. Yeah.
I do see. I do see. Hmm.
That's just the best I can do with that. I
And
was.
and, and 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 speaking of the hooking up, just briefly, concurrently while I'm looking at this, I'm also being almost entertained by this Facebook debate going on right now, where there's some daughter of some celebrity Rolling Stone black rock star. I don't know who he is, but somebody on my Facebook said that she's not black, and
Oh.
there's this big dialogue going on in her chats with all of her family members is coming in.
Oh.
Oh, y'all Negroes don't know what y'all talking about. Y'all jealous. It's a whole bunch of them coming in here, and
Oh.
every time I mouse over them, they're the same type of person that we're discussing in this video. They got these African names, Maat, this, that, and the third, but they're they're these ambiguous racial that I can't quite put my finger on with just one or two pictures.
Wow.
Yes, they're all linking up and they're all um, doing something. I don't know exactly what. Maybe just trying to become the black people of America. Like Time National Geographic said that we all were going to look like in the next 50 years. Maybe that's the ultimate goal.
Uh,
Personally, I'm not with it though. I wanna stay this way. I wanna look like how I look now,
yeah.
how my peoples looked 50, 60 years ago and beyond.
So do I, and I don't think that's what. Huh. I have to think more of that. I've thought about it many times over the years. I don't. Looking at the marriage rate of East Asians, it would make you wonder, but they're so. I mean, that's why it gets down to black, non black. I don't really think that Asians care that much because it's not that much of a morphing.
I
Uh,
agree. In fact, a lot of them like the addition to the white phenotype into them.
well, so have we historically. But
True.
but I don't think that European white folks really care that much. Because they one generation and they're basically white people. I mean, you mix them one time, they look white.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Whereas, do European white folks want America to look like? Uh, well, who's in here? Well, these women. Or even the men. Do they want them to look like Steph Curry, only with a little looser hair? Is that their preferred look? Would they prefer to look like that?
I think they'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
I think that they don't want everybody to have that hair, but if you got some people, if you got some people with the straight hair, some people with the two, I think that they would be 100% okay with that. If the alternative is to continuously have 12 to 20% of unambiguously black people running around America. If the alternative is that we all look like Steph Curry, I think that they'll accept that.
Yeah,
I think so.
and I don't even know why I'm saying that because we know that the whole tool is based on the evidence that they don't treat these people, that there's a
Mhm.
huge gap between the way they treat Steph Curry looking people and us. So, yeah, clearly from the data, they don't have a problem with it. So, okay. Let's see. See that? Yeah. Well, okay. The thing about her is she's just an odd. She's like Blake Griffin. I mean, where does she fit? I mean, she doesn't fit like even Steph Curry. The nose bridge, that just doesn't fit. That doesn't fit that skin. I don't know what her hair is like, but it doesn't fit her skin.
Hmm. Is this Steph Curry's sister, or
No,
who is this now?
no, this is his sister-in-law.
So this is Aisha Curry's sister.
No, this is his brother's fiance.
Oh, okay. um, yeah, all of them have funny features that don't that don't quite fit the the current idea of what a person should look like with those with that skin or with that nose and that also adds to what we're saying, that they are not black, maybe they're not white, maybe, but there's something else, and they need to worry about what that something else is.
Right.
The fact that they look so weird with these features, I don't want to say weird, but it's just different. They look really different than what I'm used to seeing
Unusual.
in a black person, or in a non-black, or in a like white person, or
You know what they remind me of? They remind me of the way a car looks when it gets primed and painted before it gets painted.
Yeah, it's true.
Not one way or
You gotta
another.
do a double take.
Huh.
So her nose width, that's what, a 3 nose width it looks like from here.
Yep,
Her
to
lips
me.
look maybe a 3.
Yeah,
Okay,
no,
this doesn't
2.
look like a 3 anymore.
The nose does to me, not the lips.
Yeah, the lips, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the nose does for sure. The eyes are a 3.
Uh-huh.
And the skin is between 1 and 2, probably 1.
One.
If not less, actually. She's kind of
Yeah, she's pink.
yes, like yeah.
Yeah, she's pink. Yeah, that skin's a 1.
And I wonder what their conversations be like. Are they meeting up and saying, "Hey, I need to find me another biracial person," or are they just saying, "No, this person's ugly, this person is ugly, this person is ugly, and this person is beautiful, so I'm gonna marry her"? Like, I
think,
often wonder what these folks' combos be like.
Well, I wonder if it's just self-love. I'm gonna tell you. I mean, the best experience I ever had was with a guy who everybody mistook as my brother. We were so compatible in so many ways. I mean, and I found him really attractive. And he found me really attractive. And we looked a lot alike because we loved ourselves. And I'm not trying to be funny here. I'm just saying. I mean, I know there are people who are examples, but exceptions. But I don't think it's that unusual to find that you find the people who look like you to be attractive.
Yeah. I don't find that unusual.
At least familiar.
Especially if your parents aren't telling you explicitly to go get with this type of person. I could. And then also, there's the rest of the world, the rest of the black world saying that these people are beautiful, these racial, these borderline people are beautiful. This woman looks so good. That man is so, because of his light skin and light eyes. So that would also help them to have a lot of self-love, I would suspect.
Yes. And of course, now there could be the opposite push too, which is what was going on at this table. Which is that nobody finds
people
us.
don't accept them as black.
Yeah, we don't, and they don't. They're not fawning over us. That we can't count on the black men fawning all over us anymore.
That's internet. That's internet stuff, though. That's internet stuff. I bet in real life, black folks are still fawning over them.
Okay.
When they meet them in real life. That's internet stuff. And sometimes we get internet confused with reality, and I think that's a lot of what was happening with Aisha Curry.
Okay.
Her DMs wasn't full anymore. It isn't as full anymore as internet stuff. That, because I still see these seemingly healthy black men walking around with these unhealthy looking non-black women,
Right.
overweight,
Right.
bumpy skin. I still see that outside as much as I ever did. I still don't see black men and black women holding hands and
Right.
nuzzling each other outside. I don't see that. It's just
Right.
me and Ama only.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I love that picture of you too. I love that picture. Okay. All right. Well, that's enough of her.
Hmm.
Who's next? We've done Sonya. We've done Callie. Take her off. And Jada. Jada's interesting.
So we're not rating these people because we're unable to see their
Hair.
full features and okay, I understand
And I
that. That
did.
makes sense.
And I did put some time into looking for hair. I could only find the hair of one person, and that's the person I'm leaving for last.
Mm.
She's
And
interesting.
and 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 Willow Smith, I actually wanted to rate her too, and I had some, I had some trouble finding good pictures of her and her brother Jaden. I didn't put in as much effort as maybe I could have, but it wasn't easy to find a wide array of pictures that made me comfortable to rate them.
Okay. Well, I'm leaving it for last because she has spoken about this.
Hmm.
She has spoken about, yeah, his looks versus her looks and how she had to come to terms. So it's interesting. And it's interesting what it's done to her. Uh,
Hmm.
for the Jada's mother, like she hardly participated at all. The camera wasn't on her much at all, so I didn't get much of her. But I'm not sure if I'm trying to get Jada or Willow here. I think this is not Jada. I'm not sure if I'm trying to get Willa or um, Adrian Manfield, who is Jada's mother, because they're right next to each other. It's interesting. Okay, I'm trying to get Willow. This is Willow. See now there, that looks like a three nose bridge to me. That looks like low two skin. It looks like two.
Hmm.
It looks like
Okay.
two nose. I can't see her lips that well.
Look like three eyes. Yep.
Three eyes. Three lips. Two three lips. High two, low three.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Now I'm looking for her hair. That's one. I think that may be the only one I have. That looks like three hair to me.
That's a good one. That's a good one, but I've seen other ones of her hair though too. But that is a good one there.
Okay.
I was gonna say about the other picture, she wears all kind of stuff in her hair. Like I've seen all kind of different hairstyles from her, but this is actually a decent one here.
Okay.
I just don't trust these pictures anymore because these people do everything to their body. It's
Yeah. Yeah, but see with
not.
her,
Hmm.
I've heard her speak about how she I'll just go ahead and say it. I don't remember where I saw it. It probably was on Red Table Talk.
Mm.
But she spoke about how she had to come to terms with the fact that she did not have the curly loose hair of her brother, Jaden.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. Um and so I want to go back to the thumbnail if I can find it because this is what I wanted to say about and I think the thumbnail says it better than anything that I could say if I can do it easily. Um, she, I like Willow. I think she's a really sweet girl. Um, take her off. She's a really
My
sweet.
my wife and daughter love her too. They can't get enough of playing her music on repeat.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Interesting. All right. So what struck me was that Willow's decided to wear the locks. Um, Willow, I think, has three hair. But see, look at all the other women. Look at how they're attired. Look how glamorous and feminine they look. I think Willow internalized because of her hair. But she's a pretty girl. And I could be wrong. This could just be her style, but she doesn't. I don't know. I mean, you can't read somebody's sexuality, but all the time. But I mean, I don't. As open as this family has been, and as open as this generation has been, her brother's been wearing skirts. So I think if she were a lesbian, she would have said so. And she just doesn't strike me as one. So,
I don't know if she is a lesbian, but that's another thing that we talked about, how the generations are different. There, she might not be a lesbian, but we follow her on IG and we look at her posts often, and she makes posts about like polyamory and about how much she loves bisexual men, you know. So it's like, I don't know.
whoa.
Maybe she's not a lesbian, but she's also not. She doesn't. She also doesn't have normal sexuality either. I don't know. So it might be some new title that she's going for.
She,
I
she,
wouldn't be. I'm
she
saying that I
loves
wouldn't be surprised.
bisexual men? Seriously?
Yeah, she does.
Ooh.
Isn't that weird? I've never heard of that. I've never heard women saying things like that. You know, that's the new generation. And she was posting a lot of books about learning to live in polyamorous relationships. She was posting like the book cover on her table or what have you. You know, oh, this is what I'm reading right now, guys.
Well,
That
see,
sort of thing.
you know what? Willow, God, this is not even the subject of this, but it sort of is.
Hmm.
Willow, has like taken on like the burden of that whole family, because that family has got some weird stuff going on, and she knows that. Okay, I suspect, because she just comes across as so genuine. And I watch the way that she'll react to her mother saying, we don't call our relationship a marriage, we call it a partnership. And, you know, there's always been this news, that they have an open relationship. And some of it, there's always been the rumor that Will is not completely hetero. And there's been some rumor about her mother as well.
Hmm.
And they go, yeah, but then both of them kind of swing all around, and that's why it's a part. And I'll watch Willow's eyes. You know, so you notice how some people cannot hide what they're thinking, and she's like protective when her mother says those kinds of things, but it's like she holds all of that. I feel like she holds all of that, and that she has made herself into this person who can incorporate all of that and make it seem okay, you know, to the world and for herself and for her
I
family.
can see that. I can see that because she has never, like you said, she's never in this generation. People are so quick to say that there's some odd thing, and I haven't seen that to be the case. And also in her music, she sings about boys and love, and you know, so who knows? Like, but yeah, I hear I hear what you're saying, and it makes sense from what I know and have heard from her over the years.
And part of her holding that space, because part of it's sexual, you know, and the relationship between male and female, but part of it is the color thing. Because I wanted to show you the pictures of Jada if I can. You know, Jada, let me show you. If this, please let this be the one where it shows Jada and all her different. Oh, it's not. Where do I have her? Close it. Because I had a whole bunch of pictures of Jada. I guess I didn't. Whatever reason, I don't have them. But that's too bad. Because I had a whole bunch of them where Jada's had a lot of. I'm just gonna just come out and say you can look for it yourself. Jada's been under the knife a lot. That's not her nose by a long shot. It's like,
Oh, has she?
oh
Wow.
yes,
I didn't know that.
yes, 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 yes. She's been under the knife a lot, and her hair's at least a two, which you would never guess, right? Um,
Right.
and
Yeah, I wouldn't guess it.
you would guess it, And so, but then so Willow has had to hold all of this conflict about sexuality and orientation and color and all of that, because she loves all these people. She loves her brother. She loves her mom. She loves her dad, and she's so young. She's trying to make it all fit into a piece because she's this genuine person. And part of what she's had to do. Let me take this picture off of her so you can see the contrast, because it's so stark. Let's look how glamorous all these other women look. And so, in order for her to embrace her natural hair, she's masculinized herself. Look at her. That doesn't fit at all. All these women are coming in this glamorous thing, and look at you. That's how you hold the fact that you look blacker than any of the other women, is to masculinize yourself and be okay with it. Of course, that's okay because your family's supposed to be very fluid in their gender orientation. And my heart just breaks for her. But I think she's going to figure it all out because she seems really smart. So, she might be 30-ish before she does. And she'll figure out a way to do it that doesn't hurt her mom and her father. But, I see her mother kind of does. Her mother's doesn't strike me as smart as, not her mother. Her grandmother doesn't strike me as intelligent as her granddaughter. But her mother has some of those same kind of reservations. Like every time she hears her daughter talk about we have a partnership, her mother's like, you can see it in her eyes. What I mean? Like don't like look into it any further. But like I could see like protectiveness coming from Willow. And it's just a shame that the association with wearing your hair naturally. Locks are a great style. I wore them for a long time before I just decided I wanted something different. And I think that's her. That's what she's doing right now. But notice at a very early age, what makes her extraordinary to me is it because she could have done what her mother did. She could have done what all these other women at the table did. You know what I mean? She could have always had a texturizer or relaxer in her hair. And at a very early age, she chose not to. She has so much self-respect, but she's still trying to figure it all out and make it work. So, I didn't have much more for today. And, hopefully by next week, whatever this allergen is or whatever it is I have, will be taken care of.
I hope so.
So, so I encourage people to go over and check out go really watch the movie. What's the name of it? Give me the real name of it.
See You Yesterday.
See You Yesterday. It's on Netflix. And you know what I did? I had canceled Netflix because of the Monique thing. I really did stand behind Monique. So I canceled Monique. Netflix because of that. But once I saw that talking about STEM, oh my God, with these really respectful relationships between all the black people and the black male and the black female, and the black female is not masculinized, and
it was almost perfect.
Yes.
It was an almost perfect, and I might even say perfect. I don't know. I might have to think about it a little bit more. But it was a wild good show. Like, there was none of these tropes that they always put in other films with black people. And it's like they purposely did that. And when you mentioned Monique just now, it made me think that maybe they were doing it because they know that black folks kind of looking at them sideways now. And they maybe thought they didn't have too many more chances with us.
That could be. I do want to say one thing that I really was my moment was when she was in the convenience store and her ex-boyfriend came in and he was trying to make her jealous by, slobbering all over her, the new girlfriend in front of her, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she did, kind of a black girl thing. She didn't hurt him. She was just kind of slapping at him. You know what I mean? And this was my moment. and then the guy was much bigger than her, and the guy acted like he was gonna wail on her like the black bus driver, like the Ohio bus drivers, like, if a black woman does lift one finger against you, well, you have the right to break every bone in her body. This is the argument that people like. I'm sorry, you don't have to agree. This is me speaking for me, okay? You don't have to associate. He is not associating with my remarks. But this is the people who ride with Tommy Curry, saying the only difference between black males and black females in terms of violence is that black males have, when they do it, it's at a greater level of lethality. Yeah, I think that's a huge difference. I mean, it's someone in a lot of the reason that women can do a little slapping or that is because we know we're not really hurting him, and we know that if he wants to get away, he can. And we know that, it's not that we should be doing it at all, but we know we're not really hurting him. I know there's a few cases he can get away and he can handle us, but all she was doing was this little tapping of him, and he acted like he was about to really do her some serious bodily damage. And her brother walked up and said, "Oh yeah, what are you gonna? You really? That's what you're gonna do?" That was I melted because that was like, oh God, couldn't anything have made this movie more perfect for me? You know what I mean? Because like you're not gonna let a girl have a little tiff. Women have tiffs. We're not supposed to hurt people, but we have a little tiffs. That doesn't mean you get to take a gun out and kill us. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anywho, that was. There were so many moments, but that was the one that just like, oh God, just freeze this moment for me forever. Anywho.
Yeah. I feel you. It was a nice scene.
Okay. Well, I don't think I'm going to end this one with music because I just don't have it in me. I appreciate you again. Thank you for your help. And people please leave your comments. I want to hear what you think. Tell me what you think about whether or not those red women were black women. Tell us whether or not you think they're deliberately trying to confuse us. Is this a conspiracy? Is it? And then also let me know what you think about this interracial dating being a strategy that is designed to change the dynamic between black men and black women. Those are the three things that I would really like to read about and have a dialogue with you in the conversation. Let me know what you think. Please comment. If you like the video, please like it and please subscribe. And I have enjoyed, I always enjoy you. I thank every one of you for subscribing, for listening, for showing up, and for all of you who caught this on the live stream. And now for May 18th, 2019, this is the Counter-Racist Evolving Engineer and the Countering Racist Anti-Blackness collab signing out. We'll see you next week.